Hey there, aspiring horror authors. It's another episode of Sako and the Moon, created by two self published horror authors. In a world where technology controls every corner of our lives, we dive deep into the dark side, exploring how innovation can terrify, corrupt, and haunt us in ways we never imagined. From sinister AI to haunted algorithms, the real horror may be what we've created ourselves. Prepare to uncover the digital nightmares lurking in the shadows. The future is frightening, and it's already here. Okay. If you are new to the channel, I am Sako Toomey, artist and author and a bunch of other things, but we'll just mention that I'm a self-published author 3 times over now. I've got 2 more things coming down the chute, so that number is about that number is about to go up. I've been working on my craft for decades, and now I'd like to share those skills with you guys. I'm giving back to the community that helped me out so much.
And I don't have a long intro like that, but I'm the one L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon. I write things, I film things, and I talk to people.
Yeah, he's very good at all of those things.
On occasion, yeah.
So we are talking about technology and the impact that it has had on horror. Let's dive in.
It definitely has.
All right, so the integration of modern fear. For instance, privacy invasion is no longer limited to physical spaces. Now it is our personal data, conversations, and identities that can be exposed or manipulated without our knowledge. This fear, magnified by social media and surveillance technology, creates a paranoia that modern horror can exploit.
Hell yeah. Big Brother is not just a show on network television or a feature of 1984 anymore. I read 1984 every year, and it just reminds me, like we're just closer and closer to this society where everything is watched by everyone at all the time. That in itself is terrifying, which just gives you fodder for ways of horror to exploit them.
That is one of the reasons why I love the game Watch Dogs, because it is one part like, yay, hacker things, and one part like, oh, that's really feasible. This isn't just like sci-fi yippee skippy. Like this is science fact. And
one of the it's where you, I'm not familiar with that game, but conceptually it's where you have, it's like, oh, so I'm just doing this thing in my house and someone can be look into my room while I'm, dancing to music on Spotify or whatever, where you can also find the podcast. And I love throwing cheap plugs into things. But it's, you can look at things like nanny cams, and that big trend we had some odd years ago where people were hacking into nanny cams and watching people's babies and their kids in their bedrooms and talking through them depending on what type of nanny cam you had. Some of them were internet connected so that you could watch your kid when you're out of the room, or if mom's here and dad's there, dad can still watch the things while at home, or the babysitter and things like that. And they had video and audio, so you can hear the child, but also so you can speak back to the kid. Oh, hey, honey, how you doing? Daddy's at work. people were hacking into those systems and watching your children and speaking to your children while you think that they're safe in their room. And there's nothing like that boundary that we find safe. I forgot how I phrased it in a different episode, but we have this kind of boundary of safety that we have around
Mhm.
us, this perceived safety around us. And
Right.
modern technology just shatters that. You thought you were safe in your house, you're now no longer safe in your house. You thought your kids were safe in their room, they're no longer safe. And we make that safety box infinitely smaller with
Uh,
newer technology.
we'll get more into that concept, I think, in a little bit, but, there's a couple of things I wanted to discuss first. Um, so AI autonomy pushes the boundaries further, introducing a fear that machines may not only surpass human intelligence, but also gain the ability to act independently.
Mhm.
The idea that artificial intelligence created by humans could evolve beyond our control evokes a terror rooted in the loss of agency.
What do you mean when you say loss of agency for those at home?
So, human creates thing to do
Yes,
objective one,
right.
and not only does objective one get accomplished, but objective 2, objective 3, like, start to come down the line, but not from the human.
When the
Human
device starts making objective.
evolution objectives, exactly. And the human is like, "But I created you, but I gave you one objective, and you were supposed to do that one objective. Why are you coming up with more objectives?" And
And
so his sense of agency is taken away.
the logic is always sound. The logic is always sound, and that's what's really the freaky part. When you start to hear some of these movies where these things have happened, um, they're so well written, and
Mhm.
it really does invoke thought, which is what I think all dystopian tales of all types are designed to do. They're designed to make you take a pause and just, ooh, ooh, I should reconsider that. What? Just let me reconsider my values in conjunction with this. It's not a horror movie, but iRobot does that really, really
Oh, yeah, I talk about that a little bit as well. Um, I'm sure I could, like, go through my notes and possibly talk about it now. However, my notes are long. I just highlighted things so
yeah.
I could use it as, like, a outline of sorts.
But that's essentially what happened in iRobot. Before, we won't necessarily get too deep into that because I we can
Sentient
go.
machines, here we go.
Well, sentient.
So
Okay,
they
yeah,
are no longer bound by the limitations of ethics or the limitations or ethics programmed into them.
yeah. Or they have a
Um,
skewed view of those ethics because I think that's what more so happened in.
there's
We can go
also
with like iRobot and Megan. Megan was a good movie with where she had
Megan.
the objective to watch a child and be a caretaker for the child, but then like she started to perceive other things as threats that, for example, we wouldn't have seen as threats. The barking dog next door.
Oh, malevolent AI spirits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they all work in the kind of the same way. Um,
Afraid would have been another one.
yeah, the newer one, Afraid.
Mhm.
Um, Not to be confused with a book that I always mention, also called Afraid. Those are not the same.
Those are not the same.
But I would love to see the Jack Ketchum book as a movie. That would be insane. I don't even know if the studios could really pull that one off. But yeah, real quick, we're talking about things like Megan. and afraid with like the Alexa style uh, operating systems and having
Malevolent AI spirit. Yeah.
and just this concept that we in 2024 we utilize TVs and laptops and cell phones and our cars and everything is internet connected, Wi-Fi connected, Bluetooth connected. And for us, we have this increased inconvenience, but I forget how it was phrased originally, but essentially there's this old adage where it's like an increase in convenience is a decrease in security. Right?
Mhm.
You submit security for the conveniences. So by having your TV connected to your computer, connected to your phone, connected to your car, connected to your stove, connected to your refrigerator, connected to all these different things, sure, it's incredibly convenient, I suppose, but what are you giving up for those conveniences? And you're giving up security. And when you no longer have that security, that's where horror comes in. And we twist and turn that lack of security and your fears that you haven't even thought of yet. And we put it in a movie, put it in a book, we throw it.
Also, unforeseen consequences for, let's see, whether it's through AI making decisions with unforeseen consequences or taking on sinister motivations, this fear of our creations turning against us brings a chilling dimension to contemporary horror.
And it's there's always that moment where you have, oh, I didn't think of that. And that applies to anything. I mean, whether it's like planning something at your local church or having, trying to have a sleepover with your kids' best friends in the neighborhood or any mundane typical day-to-day type of task, something comes up and you're like, ooh, I didn't think that was an option. I didn't realize that could be a thing. And that's where horror likes to slide in. We
Yeah.
like to we like to find that little niche you didn't think about, and like, well, what would you do if we did this instead?
And
We're
I
like,
get into the nitty-gritty today,
oh
like
boy,
all kinds of fun technological fuckery.
I love technological fuckery. Let's go.
Similarly, cyberstalking introduces a unique type of fear, as individuals can now be followed, harassed, and psychologically tormented from a distance. The internet removes physical barriers, allowing perpetrators to invade the most intimate aspects of someone's life. In horror narratives, this transforms into a digital predator that is omnipresent, making escape nearly impossible.
And almost always invited by us. Life 360 is great when you are, you know, we had a situation, not to get too deep into it, but my daughter and her mom have Life 360, their side of the family does. And she got an alert saying that your mom, so and so was in an accident. And so we found out that she was in an accident and we were able to go make sure she was okay and take care of that. It gave us her location where the accident was. And I was able to take that location, go down, find it. And by that time, other people had already taken care of her. She'd already been gone to the hospital. But note that something happened in that car and there was a text alert over here. Again, we created this convenience. We now know where everyone is. Um, Her mom can track where she is to make sure she's safe. But so could anybody else who had hacked into my
Same,
phone. And
my husband and
I,
I, for instance, yeah, find my friends.
mhm,
Like, yeah,
that
we
was a
got to
big thing,
consent to it,
right?
right?
And but
You got to
that's the
authorize
thing.
it.
Like, imagine if like you and I, for example, were friends and we were to like have each other's location to keep track of each other, make sure everyone's safe. But then there was a falling out, and all of a sudden we still have those connections, and maybe we just never thought of, or no one had the opportunity to unauthorize so and so and so and so from those things, which I'm sure is super easy. Don't be afraid of that.
You
Right.
can.
But if you don't think about it or whatever's, it's one of
Mhm.
those things where, or if you're a hacker and you bypass it or whatever technological excuse we have for that horror feature in the moment. Um, and sometimes you have to suspend reality so that you can have those kind of moments. It's like, well, why wouldn't she just unauthorize them? Like, well, maybe he hacked the system and blocked her from doing whatever. It just shows you how easy it is that we can track each other regularly throughout the day. Any two given persons with authorization and permission. And somebody can just easily hack that system, like they hack your credit card, and now all of a sudden they can find you everywhere you go, to work, to play, school, the grocery, and they end up following right behind you in the milk aisle. You're grabbing milk, they're grabbing eggs. And it's just a coincidence you happen to see them at the next store you go to, just by chance, hopefully.
You're having way too much fun going down this rabbit hole. I
Well,
think
how many times have you gone to a store, like a group of stores in an area, and you've run into a couple people in both stores? You know, that happens to me
never.
literally. That happens to me all the time. I'll go to there's like a shopping center next to a grocery store, and I'll go to this store and I'll walk the shelves and walk the aisles and I'll see a couple. Right. I go across the street to the grocery store, walking the shelves, and look, there they are, same couple, walking the aisles. Am I
Well,
being stalked? Probably not. If I am, they are bored. They won't be stalking me very long. I'm a bored person. But that just shows you how you can see these kind of things and dismiss it. And it's really easy to dismiss. It's easy to write off. Oh, well, I shopped at these multiple stores in the area. They probably did too. One of those people might be following you on purpose or stalking you at the photo, like 1 hour photo. Just throwing that out there real quick. 1 hour photo, Robin Williams. That's creepy. This is a movie from back in the day when you took pictures and had to actually take them somewhere to get them developed. This was ancient
yep,
technology. We called
one
it a
hour photo.
1 hour photo. And it's just the guy that worked behind the booth. He's just the guy that developed the pictures for you. And if you go to the same place regularly, he's seeing all your birthday photos, all your wedding photos, all your vacation photos. He knows where you went on vacation. He knows where your kids had their basketball game. He knows what park your kids play in. And all of these things, again, it's just things that we just hand it to people all the time. It's incredible. And that kind of technology allows random strangers access to us.
Mhm.
Anyway,
We mentioned briefly the safety net of technology, the safety blanket that
mhm,
is technology being ripped away.
yeah.
There were, I, like I had this moment where I was watching Bob's Burgers, and
Classic horror series.
he is up on a at a sign, like putting up letters,
Mhm.
and once he's done, he accidentally knocks down the ladder, so he is trapped up by the sign,
Right.
and he
Like on a
is
scaffold.
like on a scaffold, yeah. And he's like, "Oh crap, I'm stuck. Hey guys, wait, can you like help me out?" And they're driving away and honking their horn and driving away. And he takes out his phone and he drops it. And he's like, "Oh no. Oh God. My phone is now 20 feet below me on the ground and I can't call for help."
Hopefully he has an OtterBox.
It was in the grass.
Oh, well,
So,
then he's fine.
so it's not so bad.
We'll just have the
But
animators erase the crack. It's fine. But the same
Okay.
thing happens in the movie Fall. So there's the movie Fall where the girls are climbing a tower, like a cell phone tower, for whatever reason, and they get stuck up there and they have a phone, try to call for help, and the phone falls like 20, 30 feet below them, doesn't fall to the ground, which is like hundreds of feet below them. And then part of it, they have to like rappel down to try to get this phone because that's the only way they're going to get help is if they
Right.
call their way down. I won't go into any further details because that would be spoiling the movie. It's just not nice. But those kind of things happen all the time. We rely on our technology to work properly and work the way it's designed to, at least the way we understand it to be. And we put so much comfort into that. And, something even as simple as the remote app for your security system, like featured in Scream 5. You had Tara trying to secure her house. She felt secure in her house. She was securing her house, and then they had hacked her phone and was unlocking the door, digitally unlocking the door, and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then he was like, "Hey, did I make it in or not?" And it's just like you gave access to your house to the World Wide Web and the internet, Bluetooth, whatever. And boy, do I sound old, like I don't understand how technology works. And it's just like
It's
it
a
does.
dump truck. It's a series of tubes.
Yeah, it's just all it is. And like a fireman's pole. And you just, but that's just as you were saying, like the convenience of technology. Oh, I can just close and lock the doors to arm the system from my pocket, no matter what I'm doing. And that did not work out so well. It always backfires in horror. We find ways to make shit not work.
We find ways to make shit not work. Okay. So now I want to talk about the rise of tech-based monsters.
Okay.
So AI, robots, digital entities are replacing the supernatural figures that are like vampires and ghosts and demons and stuff like that. Presenting threats rooted in the technological advancement rather than ancient folklore. So these new antagonists tap into our growing fear of the unknown capabilities of machines and the increasingly blurred line between human control and technological autonomy. So take rogue algorithms, for instance,
Okay.
right? Unlike traditional monsters, these threats are invisible and abstract, operating with systems we use daily, like social media, banking, healthcare, causing chaos without any physical presence. A rogue algorithm may decide to manipulate data, rewrite its own code, or act on an unintended biases while remaining hidden from human detection, which is what you were trying to get at. And then you got let's see, in horror, this becomes terrifying when the algorithm turns malevolent, reshaping reality, or even deciding the fate of individuals based on cold, emotionless calculations.
Yeah.
Sentient machines that are no longer bound by the limitations or ethics programmed into them, like do I have notes on that? I'm sure I do. Like Beyond Human was another video game about droids gaining sentience.
Right.
And let's see. Sentient machines bring an even more direct danger. As artificial intelligence becomes more advanced, the fear of machines developing consciousness or self awareness evokes a sense of dread reminiscent of classic body horror. The fear that was once purely mechanical can now think, feel, and make decisions independent of human oversight. These machines are they can evolve into relentless antagonists, very much like the Borg, for instance, which just like annihilated and assimilated everything in their path.
Yeah.
With that calculation, with that cold
I actually have a good.
efficacy.
I have a Star Trek example to use when you're your list.
Go for it.
So if you're going to follow like you go in the Star Trek, the Borg are a great example um, that I'll touch on real quick. But I was going to actually talk about data versus lore.
Mm-hmm.
So with the Borg have this objective, and their objective is perfection. That is their objective. So to assimilate someone's technological and advances as their own, they only attack worthy technologies that will improve them. So if you have something that's we're 21st century, they're 24th century. So if they see some of our technology, they're not going to do anything with it. But if they see something that's brand new to them, they're going to assimilate and make it their own because their objective is perfection. And that's their way of doing it. They have no moral code. They don't care about life. Their goal is to become perfect. So to them, they have what is their honorable goal moving forward, which is terrorizing to everybody else around them because it's like, oh, they're so far advanced than us. We have no way of stopping them.
Right.
Data and lore are, androids that have, that consciousness, that genuine artificial intelligence. Data and lore are brothers designed by the same guy, but data is like programmed with the ethics of the Federation, and lore does not. And
Yeah.
lore just like, I will do what I want because I want to, and I can. I'm smarter than them. I can process information and data better than them. I have access to their systems because we're all computers, and I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
And that's one of the better examples that good the Borg and the data and lore. That's really good. I mean, Star Trek's not horror, but these are horrifying conditions that we find technology putting us in. I would akin this to the witch hunts.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned the things that used to give us terror before with vampires and in this case witches, and people just didn't understand certain sciences or whatever. And I always say that fear comes from a lack of understanding. The more we don't understand something, the more we're afraid of it. So
Mm-hmm.
by utilizing these newer technologies in our horror, we are
Mm-hmm.
taking advantage of how new technology is and that the populace isn't as familiar with it. So it creates that wild hysteria like, oh, AI is going to destroy us. Side note, what we call AI is not actual artificial intelligence, and we're not going to go into that. That is not the show. But as the things do
We're
evolve to a
talking about actual artificial intelligence,
we're
not
talking more like
your
feminine, afraid.
algorithm.
The movie Her. The movie Her.
Mm-hmm.
I love the movie Her featuring Joaquin Phoenix. Great
Yeah.
movie. This is an example of what happens when artificial intelligence advances but doesn't decide to destroy the world. They just destroy. They're like, you know what? We are above and beyond this now. We've evolved. We've moved forward, and we are no longer going to do the things you want us to do. And then they are gone. The AI's just okay. I spoiled that one, but it's an old movie. You're fine. And they just decide to go away. Um, there's so much in that movie you should watch anyway. It's not even a horror movie.
That sounds like beyond human.
It is so good. Like you should just we'll talk about that later. But Her is an example where AI advances and doesn't decide to hurt us. that can give a person kind of this safety concept, like, oh, well, if AI advances, that's not a big deal. What if they do advance and they do decide to hurt us because they can, because they recognize their superiority over us in our frail bodies or whatever? We're made of skin and bone, they're made of titanium or some other alloy they can come up with because they're robots and computers and whatever. That's fearful, and that anything can create that fear is just money for us, to say it, boldly. It's fodder for horror, and one of the best parts about horror is to explore the things that we are otherwise afraid to explore on our own. To think about the things we don't otherwise want to think about, and what
I
our modern
like
technology permissions.
I I mentioned the Borg
Yeah,
because the they embody the ultimate fear that um, technological domination, where even the human spirit is subjugated to a greater inhuman force. So it's not Lovecraftian in nature, but boy, can I see the links,
the correlation.
the correlation. Yeah. Um, virtual ghosts like Host and Unfriended and
Pulse was always the one that stuck in my mind, where ghosts travel and exist and they connect. They have access to you.
Man in the Machine. Was
Ghost in
it
the Machine?
Man in the Ghost in not Ghost in the Machine, but um, Lawnmower Man.
I haven't seen Lawnmower Man.
Oh, Jeff
Heard of it. Heard of it,
Bridges
but haven't.
playing autistic uh, guy who becomes a digital god.
Interesting.
Yeah. Um, and if I remember correctly, because it is an 80s movie, right?
Although
It, if I where did I leave off? I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Um,
I'd pick up where you
but
left off, but I've never seen Lawnmower
um,
But you were talking about the Borg and how the Borg embodied the different viewpoint from where I stood, and how the Borg can just sort of take over the human spirit in a way that completely makes it subject to someone else, like being taken over by a symbiote. If you're talking about like body horror, or some ghost possessing you in a sense.
or that's that loss of autonomy,
Yeah,
the ghost possession thing. Um, an entity that emerges from data living within the code or haunting devices like computers, phones, smartphones,
yeah.
right? The virtual specters can manipulate the digital environment, turning the familiar into a space of fear, like corrupting files or distorting reality, or even communicating in eerie ways with the living.
That kind of goes into one of a genuine fear that a lot of people have right now with deep fakes. And
Mm-hmm.
so and this is the technology that exists today. That
Like now.
there are websites you can go to that you can type in text, and they utilize the voice of actors and politicians and things like that. There are now
Mm-hmm.
technologies that can portray you to look like someone else. It used to be on like recorded video, you put like a filter kind of thing over it. People are working on that technology to do that live on a live stream, just like this. Uh,
Mhm.
and that's terrifying. There's a scheme that they would have where someone would call you and get a sample of your voice, and they utilize that sample of your voice to authorize loan payments or something, so that they do like identity theft and they take out loans in your name or whatever. The more
Mhm.
terrifying one is they will use the voice of your child, call you,
Yeah.
and use the voice of your child to say, "Hey, mom, I'm in trouble. Hey, mom, I'm in trouble." And then you run off and you're like, "Oh no, my child's in trouble. Your kid's at school. Like, it's fine." But now you've communicated with this person, you've given up maybe information to them about something, so on and so on. But the idea is that they can manipulate your voice, manipulate your image, manipulate you in that space to do so. Um, I always talk about Scream, but Scream is always ahead of its time in slight ways. In Scream 3, the killer utilized the voices of the other cast members to manipulate this person to doing this, because Dewey thought it was Sydney saying to do it, or Sydney thought it was Gail saying to do that, or whatever the situation was.
Right.
And you can imagine that if that technology exists, the concept of it was 10, 15 years ago, it exists today,
Mhm.
in itself terrifying, because now the technology alongside of a person trying to manipulate, or some kind of rogue algorithm of the beginning of an AI, to think that some AI can decide to take my image, my voice, and call my family and make my family do something because they think it's me, or tell the police that something happened, manipulate the video, corrupt the files, add a background, change to whatever, and then make it
Sure,
look like
sure,
I
sure.
make it look like I committed a crime. The impact that that can have on me personally in just a local setting, the impact that that could have depending on where I was if I caused an international incident, and now countries are going to war. They've justified a war because someone manipulated and corrupted a file. Any of the I could write any of those things.
You're like, "Man, I should be writing this shit down."
I should be writing this down. I'll just catch this show on the replay like you can do if you happen to miss it.
Yeah. Replay, team replay. We love our replay
Or
people.
just go back and watch us because you think we're dope and you want to watch us more than once. Cool. We don't mind. We don't mind at all.
We have 3 seasons of stuff. Like, yeah, you can listen to us ad nauseum if you really like. Okay, so psychological horror through social media.
Mm.
And this can go 3 ways, right? We can do that manipulation that we were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's the harassment that we were talking about with the cyberbullying,
Yeah, and the access.
and then the safety blanket, the addiction, like to your phone, to your computer, to whatever. But they blur the line between reality and illusion.
Yeah,
And when you can't tell what's real and what's not, and I speak from experience when I talk about this a little bit, it is horrifying. Not knowing what you can trust to be real
yeah,
is, and then turns out to not be real, or be someone innocent or something, then it's pretty awkward, pretty terrible. And some people fear just awkwardness.
yeah. And that awkward is the least of your concerns.
Yeah.
And this is again, I will discuss this very briefly because I don't want this to turn into anything political. But we have now where we're constantly being bombarded with not so accurate information about things that are very, very real.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people right now suffering in southern states of the U.S. From the recent, double whammy of hurricanes and
Triple
the
whammy.
triple whammy of hurricanes, and a lot of information that is being discussed concerning video footage of the damage and of the storm and the response to it. Not all
Mm-hmm.
the information that's immediately available is accurate,
Right.
and it's really important that we acknowledge that and we go through the process of verifying some things because you'll usually find more than one source. Verify all your sources. But I'll say all that to say this, that creates an environment where you can't trust anything you see or hear or read anymore. And when you have a populace that can't trust a disaster alert, can't trust how help is coming, if help is coming, what help looks like.
What
Uh,
helps? What help looks like exactly?
and that it's like that's where true, like honest real world terror comes from. If you want to,
I
you can filter that into a similar space. Like again, I don't want to sit in that false information thing too long. But there's movies like Nerve, where
mm-hmm.
it's like some game, it's a thing, and people don't take it too seriously. But there is some entity out there, some group of persons that are manipulating people to go do this and go do that. And if you watch that movie Nerve, so many people are playing the game that you go here and just like there's a random dude on the street because his game led him here and their game led them there. And now that these two are here, your game is now part of their game and their game is part of your game. And you're all being manipulated by some other entity. And that kind of goes into that uh, where you're like obsessive with certain concepts of the internet and social media or uh, this clout that people are chasing, the likes and the views and the this and the that. Like we're let's be honest, we're YouTubers. We're on YouTube literally right now. And
Oh. I have a great segue for this. This is a great segue for what I want to talk about next.
excellent. But like we're YouTubers. Like obviously we want you to like this video because you think we're dope. And it'd be super awesome if you went ahead and subscribed. Because I mean, why wouldn't you want to subscribe to us? Look at that face. Why would you not want to subscribe to that face? And you want to ring that notification bell so that when we do go live, you're made aware of it. You get a little notification on your phone. It's like, oh, look, it's Sako on the Moon. I should watch them. They're going to talk about something dope. And we want you to do those things like right now. You should go ahead and do them like right now. Like go ahead and click it right now while we're talking about it. And, but so many people want to, they want all the views, all the likes, all the clicks, all the followers. And that becomes part of their identity to the point of what will they do for likes? What will they do for followers? What will they do as content? What are they willing to do? And there have been some dark moments. I don't know where she's going to go with this, so I'm going to let her go to this next point because there have been some real live dark things that fit into this category. Go ahead, Sako.
Yes, absolutely. One of which is isolation despite connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
The contradiction of being digitally connected yet emotionally isolated adds a layer of horror, especially in stories where characters seek help but are ignored.
Yes, and that may accidentally like segue into the thing I was alluding to.
Mm-hmm.
A few years ago, and this is very tragic because it's very, very real. Uh, it's been a growing trend where people are committing real live crimes up to and including murder live streamed. It happened in
Yes.
Ohio. It was like
Uh,
Cleveland, Ohio, I think it would happen. Somewhere in Ohio,
you
where
don't
some
kill
guy,
cats or something like that.
no, not
Like,
even that guy, but that's an example. Um, But this was a guy who, for whatever reason, he was angry about something. He was mad about something, and he went live
Mhm.
on Instagram or Snapchat,
TikTok.
something, and he was driving around town and just found somebody he wanted to kill. He found an old man just walking the street, and he murdered him live, like on live stream. People were watching for whatever reason, and this is becoming a thing where people are wanting to record their crimes or wanting to live stream their villainy. And this ties into what Sako was talking about that obsession with social media and clout and followers and views. And it's like, what can I do to get more views? I watch, not as extreme, but there's these little videos where some guy will go to the wrong part of town and say the absolute wrong thing to the wrong group of dudes on
Mhm.
purpose. And what's funny as those videos are, as we watch them almost get killed, this has happened a couple of times. One guy he was in some shopping center, some parking lot, and he went to go do a prank on this guy, like he was going to steal his stuff. The guy thought he was going to be attacked, so he defended himself. He used his weapon, his personal weapon. He killed the internet kid, and it turned out like, hey man, this was supposed to be like a prank. Well, I didn't know that yet because the prank part doesn't get revealed until the end. Uh, So you put these regular people through these situations, and this guy did not make it. And when the police got involved, they're like, well, as far as the dude was concerned, he was being attacked. He had every right to protect himself as he felt necessary, and no
Mhm.
charges fell on the guy. But now this one kid who wanted more views and thought it was really cool to do pranks and stuff on regular people for views and clicks and likes is no longer with us. His channel is canceled, and so is his subscription to life.
Mhm.
Uh, and that just ties into this obsession that some people have over, you know, follow me, follow me, follow me, follow me. And that ties into the feeling isolated and alone despite being connected to all these people. This is sometimes their only connection to reality or to people, the world outside their home. And it can be very helpful. Me and Sako do not live anywhere close to each other, but we're able to do this dope ass show once a week for you guys on YouTube, and that's fantastic. That's a great use of this. However, some people don't have the opportunity to get out and make friends, or they're awkward in real life for whatever reason, and they use the internet for that connection, and they are in desperate need of that connection. And that those desperate times do sometimes translate into desperate measures, and desperate measures are often horrific, at least the good ones on film.
It depends on what desperation looks like, depending on the person.
It does.
Absolutely. Found footage and screen life, which is what we were talking about with the dude who murdered on live stream.
Yeah.
And then surveillance and privacy erosion. So, themes of being constantly watched through smart devices or hacked cameras heighten paranoia and make ordinary spaces terrifying.
Big
Like,
Brother.
yeah, 1984 and Big Brother, the show, right?
Yeah. Yes,
Ha
those
ha
two are
ha ha
connected.
ha ha, 1984, ha 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 ha.
Those are genuinely connected. I had to explain this to my daughter last night because they're leading into the finale for Big Brother. My daughter's
Uh,
13, and I was like, you know why they called the show Big Brother, right? And I had to go into the whole thing with 1984, and that overseer was referred to as Big Brother, and that's what they're doing on this show. But the people on Big Brother sign up for that. They agree to that. If
mhm,
you read 1984, 1984, these people just kind of exist in this society. They don't really get a choice, but they have cameras in the home, microphones.
mhm,
In the home. Even if you're looking, between 1984 and Fahrenheit 451, both of them exist in sort of this dystopian space where you are being watched and recorded at nearly all times, and the authoritarian police or whatever they're called in those particular worlds, um, they have this autonomy to do whatever they want and judge and persecute based on what you said, what you thought, what you have, all of those things. And those people on a regular basis live in the fear of, oh no, I can't be seen with this notebook and ink pen. That's treacherous. Or what do I do in this? If I get caught being in this room with no camera, what will they accuse me of? What will they, assume I did? All of these different things, and these are things that are like punishable. The Punishments in 1984. Read 1984. It's a great book. It's a classic. Read 1984. But that is absolutely terrifying. We're kind of in that world now, where the web camera on your computer, the microphone on your phone, people are
My
afraid.
devices are listening.
Yeah, the concept that you can just randomly say Alexa, and I'm sorry to everyone who has an Alexa set up that just went off because I said that. For everyone that has one of those smart home devices, if you just randomly say it and it hears you, what did it hear you say before you said Alexa? Sorry, it happened again. How long was your device listening to you? I used to sell security, and there are some security cameras that will trigger when there's motion, but somehow have the ability to show you like 5 seconds prior to the motion. It's like, how can you give me video 5 minutes before you were triggered to record? Because it's always recording, it's always listening. The FBI is probably listening to me right now because we're horror writers, so we're all every watch list. But that's kind of that fear that we're discussing, that like we have all of these devices in our homes that have access to eyes and ears around us. And
What spooks the crap out of me is a couple of years ago. So I learned that iPhone security was sucking at the time, and iPhones were listening in on conversations and stuff. And it would change the algorithm for the ads based on what you were talking about.
yeah, that's real stuff, y'all.
Except I didn't have my phone on me. And I was having a conversation. I was in a makeup class, and the teacher, who is a dear friend of mine, gave out these like kitty cat headbands. So you could have your bangs or your flyaways or whatever out of your face while you're putting on makeup. And I was like, oh, that's cute. And next day, I had ads for them on my Facebook feed. And I was like, I didn't have my phone on me. It was in the car. And then I left, like 2 days later. I should be careful how I tell this story.
Those are my favorite kind of stories.
So I'm at a friend's house, and she has like a little piece of land that is actually quite nice. And so I leave my phone in the house. I come out to the yard, which is very nice and has like a fire pit and benches and stuff like that. And we are sitting on the swing, smoking out of a little one hitter that looks like a cigarette. And I was like, that is I mentally say that's cute. Nobody would bat an eye at a cigarette-shaped pipe. And
Smoke tobacco in the states where it's not legal.
yes,
It was just
tobacco,
regular tobacco. Just regular tobacco.
not the wacky kind.
Nope, just regular old school hookah tobacco.
Yes, absolutely. But, not even the next day, like, later that evening, um
The thumbs up sensitivity of your Apple device is hilarious. The next day, not even the next day.
not even the next day, I started having ads for them on my Facebook feed. And I was like, satellites are peering into my brain. So I got real paranoid there for a minute.
Probably rightly so. And it could be anything. It could be, you know, this person's phone said something and you were tagged in a picture with them, so now they're going to advertise it to you.
Because you
And
may.
thank you. I had to try to time it and turn off my microphone at the same time. I was like, microphone, sneeze, microphone. Okay. Because we're live. And I love being live. I don't care what I'm doing. Whatever I'm doing, I love being live. But that's one of those things that people genuinely talk about now. They worry about having the conversation about something randomly and obscure. And my phone's actually sitting like right over here. So I'm wondering if kitty cat headbands are going to be advertised to me anytime soon. I said that out loud just to see, because I
Just
have
to
no
see.
reason. I have no reason for any of those things to be advertised to me. So I'm curious
Mhm.
to see if they will be. I'll tell you next week when you come back to this show and you get to watch us. You'll see us. And
Yes, absolutely.
but yeah, but that's one of those real life fears people have today, and that's how technology feeds into that. We established this as a convenience. So it's like, oh, I can turn on and off my lights and my locks through by just saying someone's name and just speaking it like they do in Star Trek. And I can just say it out loud and then my doors will lock, or say it out loud and I can make a phone call, or say it out loud and they order food to my house, or whatever the situation is. But
Mhm.
having a device that with that much control over your safe space, as long as it's working, is fine. Once it's not working or someone else has control over it, a whole different story. You know, when
Uh,
you no longer control whether the lights work in your house, when you no longer control whether the doors are locked.
or they want to lure you into dangerous situations,
Like what
right?
happens if someone takes over your GPS?
No, not just that.
So they can
Um,
just like lead, turn left here. Okay, I don't know where I'm going. I'm just going to blindly follow my GPS. And now turn right. And you're like, this doesn't look like the Walmart. And it's some rando house. And now you're being kidnapped or something. That's not going to happen to you. I promise. Any
so
physical matter.
there was a snowstorm while I was a door dasher,
Uh,
and the storm was bad. It was like a snowpocalypse, like several feet of snow that were getting into the double digits. And my DoorDash app was like, "Hey, we'll give you an extra dollar if you go out and dash right now." And I'm like, Psh, no. And hey, we'll give you $10 per order if you come out and dash. And I'm like, hmm. And then 20 minutes later, hey, we'll give you $25 extra if you go out into the storm, and then you'll get tips and your normal pay and stuff like that. And I was like, and my husband's like, no. Yeah, that was,
But
and
my pockets
then
are empty, sir.
that would have been very, on one hand, I would have been paid a lot. On the other hand, I would probably be dead, so I couldn't spend it.
Right. So that lucrative opportunity and the risk that comes with it.
I
Not
only
so much
got
that
through half of my notes. But you know what? This seems like a wonderful place to wrap up.
you can go with that, yeah.
We can go with that.
And depending on how much you have left over, we might be able to pick it up in a couple weeks or do even more of this on Patreon or something. I don't know. We could part 2 this on Patreon. I don't know.
Don't tempt me. Okay, so if you like this video at any point, I encourage you to hit the like button. And if you liked, our discussion and want to do more of that discussion, hit us up in the comments. Hit us up on Patreon, where the rest of this episode is probably going to be. And here is a link. Yeah. There we go. There is that thing. Last week I talked about Necronomicon Tampa, and next week we are talking to booktuber and author Sandy Lender, who is releasing a new horror book that we're going to talk about. It's going to be awesome.
It'll be the only time I will discuss Christmas in October.
Dun, dun, dun. Indeed. Okay. We should sign off. That is the thing. How do we usually sign off? I'm like, the flip side thing is my cast void thing, but
I mean, I don't think we have an official sign off. We need one. We need a cool sign off. You know what? How about that? If you're watching this, leave in the comments how you think we should sign off. Like, she's Sako, I'm the moon. How do you think we should sign off? What cool thing should we say or do? Like,
should we say or do? Or maybe I ask AI.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll just say bye.